Hi, it's Katie Bowl, and welcome to Katie Stories number 55, I think. I was gonna check, but I'm staying in this beautiful, beautiful, magical place on Earth called Bowser on Vancouver Island, and there's no Wi-Fi here, there's no TV. So I thought I'll do a story for Canada Day and say hello, and when we get up to town, I will upload it. My husband hates lying on the beach, but I booked this back in March because I thought, well, it's going to be a while till we can get to Hawaii or Mexico. And so this is our beach time. And then we get here and there's a hot tub. It's just gorgeous. We're like right plunk on the beach, but there's no Wi-Fi and there's no TV. We've been playing a lot of cards. And there's a hot tub and we can eat. Do you want to see? I'm going to show you before I get to my story. Okay. Have a look here. I know it's a little glary. Can you see that? Look at that. There's a little fire pit, but the fires are banned as of today, but we brought the propane fire and a hot tub, and then this is where we're staying. Look at this cabin. Wow. So I invited some friends up today, and then we looked through the wordings, and there's no guests allowed. So I tried to get hold of the landlords, the Airbnb, to see now that July 1st, everything's opening up again till the variants come and lock us down in the fall. Oh yeah, that's coming, people. But anyways, I tried to get hold of her to see if maybe, since things are opening up, if we could have guests, but I didn't hear back. Maybe because my cell service is terrible too. But anyway, so Canada Day, eh? Wow. It's a really different Canada Day this year, and not just because of lockdowns, but because of what we've been finding out about the residential schools and the tragedies, the genocide that was happening. While Canada's so kind and gracious to all of these other people around the world, it's heartbreaking how they've treated their own. It bothers me in one way that the Liberals, the guy running the show here in Canada is, well, he seems concerned, but he's never kept his promises on the drinking water, getting rid of boil advisories all across Canada. There's still many reserves that have to boil their water. I always feel that out of tragedy and horrific things comes beauty and light somehow. That's just the way. And I really hope and pray that the light shining on this right now is that we're being watched by the world, not just all Canadians, but the world is watching. And I just had some thoughts when I was hearing people talking about canceling Canada Day. I felt sort of sad because I thought that's not what all of us are about. And so I came across this really, really well written article by Spencer Fernando. And know that I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm just sharing my opinion and my feeling. But I want to share with what Spencer Fernando wrote. He's a Canadian opinion and political columnist. 7 reasons Canadians can be proud of who we are. At a time when a narrative of guilt is being pushed, it is important to acknowledge the full picture of who Canadians are and what our country represents. At a moment like this, there is often a reluctance to push back against this negativity. And yet that's exactly what we need to do, right? Because we go with the herd and nobody wants to be shamed or, be accused that they don't care. Because we do. This is just a different opinion on this. I feel that we need to use this day to come together and heal. I'll talk about that after I read this, okay? The idea that all of Canada should be denounced or that the vast majority of people in Canada should somehow feel responsible for the actions of one person is absurd and also dangerous. It's dangerous because it's deeply detrimental on a mental level to hold people responsible for things they just can't control, and pushing an unfair sense of guilt on innocent people is fundamentally unjust. So as many of our leaders and much of the media is pushing a narrative of negativity, here are 7 reasons Canadians can be proud of who we are. We took a stand against slavery. While slavery was ongoing in the United States, between 30,000 and 40,000 people escaped to freedom here in Canada, British North America at the time. As noted in the Canadian Encyclopedia, the Underground Railroad was the largest anti-slavery freedom movement in North America. 2. Canadians of all backgrounds get along every day and think nothing of it. I'm not talking here about the image of political correctness or some naive kumbaya thing, but rather the fact that the vast majority of Canadians are good people who judge others as individuals based on their actions. At this very moment across our country, people of all different backgrounds are interacting, perhaps less so lately with all the restrictions, of course, and treating each other with mutual respect. Of course, this is the default for most people in Canada, because most people in Canada are good, decent people without hate in their hearts. The number of actual extremists or racists in Canada is quite low, which is why our country is always shocked when hateful incidents take place. If hate and racism was the norm, people wouldn't be shocked by it. That's the part that really got me in this article. Just hearing about, the Muslim people in Ottawa run down, any of this hatefulness, it's shocking. We don't treat each other that way. Tens of thousands of Canadians died to defeat fascism. While some try to retcon Canada's past as nothing but oppression and label anyone they disagree with as fascists or worse, the reality is that tens of thousands of Canadians died to defeat fascism. Yeah, my Uncle Jerry, my mom's brother, died on Normandy Beach, July 30th, 44. It was a couple weeks after D-Day, and he was a gunner. And my dad made it home, but, had a post-stress trauma for years, and he wouldn't talk about it. It was horrible. In World War II alone, about 45,400 Canadians died fighting for the Allies against the Axis powers. In parts of Europe, there are still commemorations for the Canadian soldiers who liberated territory held by fascist Germany. Oh yeah, like the Dutch, they were thanking us. They were eating tulip bulbs when the Canadians arrived and pushed the Germans back. Like there wouldn't be any Danish people left. So while some try to demonize Canadian history or falsely claim we are a nation of peacekeepers, the reality is that our history is one of taking up arms to defend our values of freedom and stand against fascist nations. 4. Canada stood strong against the Soviet Union and communism. Another aspect of history is often downplayed or ignored is the true depths of the brutality of the Soviet Union and communism overall. Estimates for killing by the Soviet Union of innocent civilians, mostly their own citizens, range widely from 6 million at the low end to over 60 million at the high end. Wow. Of course, when you start your low range estimate in the millions, you can be sure things are already horrific. Notably, we're talking about deliberate state-ordered killings and deliberate mass murder. In communist China, estimates for deaths under the Great Leap Forward, a combo of murder and famine, range about 15 million to 55 million in just a 4-year span. And here they are calling us out and calling out the states. But honestly, I think that's political theater, and I'll save that for another time. The death toll of communism far exceeds that of even the most brutal fascist regimes. And while many of you would like to forget it, for much of our history, Canada stood strong with our Western allies against the Soviet Union. When South Korea was on the brink of total defeat at the hands of communist North Korea, the South being reduced to one port city, the United States, Canada, and other nations intervened, pushing the North back. Pushing the North back. Considering that massive deaths and repression still exists in North Korea today, by saving South Korea, Canada helped save millions of lives and save millions more from a horrendous fate. During the Cold War, Canada made strong contributions to the NATO alliance as part of the deterrent force in Europe to dissuade a USSR invasion. While Pierre Trudeau was a big communist sympathizer, like father, like son perhaps, most Canadians did not share that perspective, and for much of our history, we were a strong part of the bulwark against communist expansion. Yeah, Trudeau broke people up into 6 classes. He did like communism. And I see that his son is here to try and roll it in through like a new world order. Just look up Agenda 21. Lost in the current demonization of Canada is the fact that, well, this is number 5, Canadians acknowledge our mistakes and we seek to improve. Like every nation, our country has made mistakes. We are more than willing to acknowledge those mistakes than most, and we seek to improve. What country in the world hasn't? Even here in this beautiful Airbnb we're staying at, I'm reading, there's a book in there on the history of Bowser. And I'm reading about the indigenous people here, and they would attack each other. They woke up to find that the Haida tribe had come in and slaying everybody during the night and taking women and children with them to another place. So as old as time is, cultures fought within. They fought within their own races, just like whites do. And then interesting in that book too, I was reading where it's reading that one of the settlers, like the white settlers, was looking for permission from the chief before they could go and access some area. So I'm sure there was respect. Also, you know, depends on the individual, just like today. Like we just keep going up in cycles of learning and who people are. There's a widespread agreement the schools were wrong, and the differences on the issue of statues revolves around whether we should keep them up and acknowledge the good and bad of historical figures, or, as some want, we should take them all down, which I feel would be a mistake. I do too. Can you imagine Italy? Just take all their history down because someone was evil back in the dawn of time? We learn from this, and then we strive to do better. You don't just remove and erase it. That's silly, right? That's just silly. Yet that debate can obscure the fact a clear majority of Canadians want to see things improve for Indigenous people. Yes, we do. And differences on how to achieve that should not be confused for opposition to the goal itself. Well written, Spencer. Canadians are willing to elect people on their ideas, not backgrounds. While Jagmeet Singh spreads a negative narrative about Canada, the fact he is in the House of Commons and is the leader of an official political party goes against much of what he claims. There are a few countries where someone is ethnic and religious minority could rise to such a position, and that's because Canada is a nation where most people focus on the ideas and individual actions of others, rather than simply judging based on people's backgrounds. If Canada was truly a racist and oppressive nation, Jagmeet Singh would never have had a political career at all. Right? It's true. Like, look at how many different cultures we have within our public offices. Canadians have a strong moral sense of justice. This is number 7. While focusing on division is the popular thing these days, the fact is that many Canadians are unified on some I don't know what happened to those last few words. Consider the attitude of Canadians towards communist China, with over 80% now holding a negative view of that country. And then they want to slip in the Asian racist. That is to squash our dissent, because they are trying to move in and steal information, like with Huawei and these different things that people don't trust them. It's not because of their skin color or their culture. It's who are you? Are you going to share and be fair? Are we going to trade civilly? Or are you going to try and have us trust you and take things? That's why the bad feelings, not who they are. There's many wonderful, beautiful Asian and Chinese people, and they've escaped communist China to come here, and they're watching a lot happening here that they don't like. This one lady I put the clip on a few weeks ago talked to the States about I'm lost for the words, critical race theory. And she compared it that's what they did in communist China to divide them, but they used classes, not races. And they used dissent, like political correctness, to shut people down, and Karening, right? Neighbors turning on each other and ratting each other out. And she just said, be careful. Like, I recognize all these signs from China, wanting to call someone a birthing person instead of a mother. I told my daughter, if you ever come home and call me a birthing person, I'm taking your name off the will. You won't inherit this house from a birthing person. I'm your mother, and it's okay to call me that. And same with the other pronouns and things. You know, what's the percentage, like the tiny, tiny percentage in the world of transgender? It's teeny. Why are they focusing on this when we have homeless people, drugs, huge human trafficking and sex trafficking? Like, there are massive problems to solve in this world. So yes, let's be loving and compassionate and accepting, but don't let them divide. That's so much what this is. Getting back to this, to Canada Day. So Canadians still stand for something. And what we stand for in our best moments is freedom and human rights. For all the reasons listed above, you as a Canadian have every right to feel proud of our country and to feel proud to be Canadians. And that pride isn't about ignoring the past, but rather having a nuanced and balanced view of it, refusing to throw out all the good that Canada and Canadians have achieved. In this moment of negative and unfair demonization of Canada and Canadians, some positivity and perspective is sorely needed. Spencer Fernando. Canada needs our willingness to stand up for the truth. So, I hope you have a beautiful day. I'm going to go put on my orange shirt. I wore this shirt, but you can't see it, so I'm going to hold it up. A friend of mine, her daughter, just went through, she's Aboriginal, and she went through a healing process, like a detoxing. And this is Unbroken Souls. And she helped design this. And then part of, in designing this and selling these, was to raise money, spread awareness. But Unbroken Souls, yeah, I just thought this was so appropriate to wear doing this story, because the vision I have for Canada Day, well, historically looking back, when I think of Canada Day, I think of being down at Swilana, because that's what we do every year. My husband and daughter and I would go down to Swilana Lagoon, and there'd be families everywhere of all cultures. It's not a sea of white people in Nanaimo. There's this all cultures. And yes, right in there is many of our indigenous people. And our Aboriginal people are running canoe rides, and we, jump in a canoe and get a lesson. They're doing their drumming and they're singing. They're selling arts, carvings. There's just all kinds of things going on down at that park, and children playing with children. Many of my friends growing up were Aboriginal. It was even funny. One of them was quite well off. She was really well off. Always came to school in the best jeans and Angora sweaters, and thought I was poor. And we were, when my dad dropped me off in his beautiful Mafia car in high school. Wanda, if you're watching this, I love you. She said, "Katie, wow, I didn't know you guys had money. Like, I thought you were poor." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, your dad dropped you off in that beautiful car." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we are poor. My dad won that in a gambling game." And, my brother's friends, like Mike Harper, he was my bodyguard. He was Aboriginal, and he is cute. When we grew up on the island, I know we've all had depending where you are in Canada, you've got a different outlook, but we love each other. We've come a long way, and I think it's good that this is being unearthed, that it's coming out, and there's going to be a lot of healing. It's going to bring out a lot of awareness, and I hope and pray that Canada Day gets big, that we use that as a way to help heal, to bond, to support, offer compassion, and get involved, whether it's learning a language, learning a song, buying some art or carving, learning how to do it. This is where people heal, is when they create, and you turn all that pain into rocket fuel. And I really pray, that is my wish, that will come out of Canada Day, that we just get closer and stronger and celebrate moving forward and what we learn. And when I was a kid, I look back to, what did I learn in school? Okay, we're at 20 minutes almost, so I'm going to wrap this up. I look back what I learned, and what sticks in my mind the most is this duotang in grade 4 or 5, learning about our indigenous ancestors, how they didn't waste anything. They didn't waste any part of an animal, and that stuck with me all my life. And when I worked at Fairview School about 5 years ago, the Aboriginal EA was just beautiful. And the things that she was teaching the kids about their culture and what I got to observe and partake is actually a lot of what I've learned in yoga, just getting back to basics with the sun, moon, stars, our earth, our water, the air. It's back to basics. And yeah, we should learn. We should learn from each other. Okay, so happy Canada Day. Wherever you are, I'm going to go put my little orange top on now. Meet my husband up. Go find some Wi-Fi and get this posted. Have a great day.